where am I? Right. We
Daled
are on Trumos, and we are in Daled Yud. But in this, Eliezer is the Reb Eliezer is lenient, and Reb Yeshua stringent. If one presses a liter of dried figs into the mouth of a jar, and he does not know into which, Reb Eliezer says they are regarded as if they were separated, and those below annul those above. Reb Yeshua says they do not annul unless there are 100 jars. If a saw of truma fell on top of a stored pile and he skimmed it off, Reb Eliezer says if there are 100 saws in the layer skimmed, it becomes annulled in 101. But Reb Yeshua says it does not become annulled. If a saw of truma fell on a ton of stored pile, he must skim it off. If so, why did they say truma is annulled in 101? If it is not known whether it had become mixed up or where it had fallen. If there were two baskets of two piles, I'm sorry, if there were two baskets or two piles, and a sar of truma fell into one of them and is not known into which it fell, they combine to annul it. Rav Shimon says even if they are in two towns, they combine to annul. Okay.
Okay, Yud Gimel. Amar Rabbi Yossi, Maaseh ba lifnei Rabbi Akiva b'chamishim agudos shel Yirak. So it says Rabbi Yossi, he was a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. It says that once happened that somebody came to Rabbi Akiva with a shaila. Okay, what he had 50 stalks of vegetables. Let's just
Mhm.
say spinach, right? He had 50 stalks of spinach, and Shenafla chas mehen sochan, but and another stalk of spinach fell into that pile of 50. Okay. Chetzia truma. However, half of that had been designated as truma. V'amarti lefanav, and I said in front of Rabbi Akiva, Taleh, it should be nullified, right? It should be against the 50 stalks. Why 50? Lo shehat truma tale b'chamishim ve'echad. Not because you got 51 parts. Ela shehayu sham mea u'shnei chatzayim. Because the truma portion was a half, and now you've got
Mhm.
101 halves against that half, and that's done. So in other words, we don't count it as part of the unit. I'm not sure really what the Havamina was that it shouldn't be Ole. But at any rate, it seems like Rabbi Akiva accepted Rabbi Yossi's words because it's pretty logical, and that turns that is the halacha. Okay, Perik Hey, Sa'at Truma Tmeya. So now what happens? Our next Mishnah are going to deal with what to do when you've got mixtures where part of the mixture is tameh. Okay. Sa'at truma tameya. So the truma became tame, which means it was going to be burned already. Okay, it's already got a din of streifa, but oops, it fell back into a pile of chulin or of masi. Okay, it's enough lepachos mimea chulin or lemasi rishon or lemasi sheni or lehikdesh. Right, something else that's not truma. It fell, and it's not, and it's in a shear that's too big to be redeemed. So now what do? You've got a pile of chulin over here which isn't sufficient to outweigh the trimmer, and the trimmer is tame. Okay. Bain tmein, bain tahorim. It doesn't matter whether the chulin is tahor or tame. Your kavu, let it all rot. Okay. Now this is interesting that we say over here that it must rot, because the din of truma tame is that you must burn it.
Right.
Okay. So this is only the situation in the case of produce that is not eaten raw. So for example, grain, right? If you've got wheat, people don't typically chew on wheat. Okay. So what you would do is you take that whole pile, put it aside, and leave it to rot. However, if you're talking about produce like, let's say, figs, which are eaten raw, then
Mhm.
this whole pile has got a problem. The truma in it is tame, and the chulin in it is not allowed to be eaten because it might be truma.
Right.
Okay, so then you do have to burn the whole lot.
Right.
Okay. Im torim haisa or hasa. However, let's reverse the situation. Let's say that the truma that fell in was tahor. Okay. And okay. Before we reverse the situation, let's just take the whole pile and make a tower. Okay, so let's say it's 1 in 50 truma. What do you do with it? Yimachru lekohanim b'demei truma. It must be sold to the coin at the price of truma chutz mi demei osa sa'ah, except for that one sa'ah which has to be given for free because it had to be given in any case to a coin. So the 51 sa'ahs over here, one of them counts free, and you work out what's the price of truma for 50 sa'ah, and get the coin to pay that. V'im le'maser rishon nafla. What happens if it fell not into chulin but into maser rishon? Now maser rishon is a different story because, of course, maser rishon has still got a portion of truma in it. 1/10 of it is going to be designated trumas maser. Okay, so what do you do? Im le'maser rishon nafla yikra shame letrumas maser. You should still designate the trumas maser as being 1/10 in the northern part of this section over here. And now you've got one part plus 10 parts of however many parts are Trumas Maser. Those must be given free to the Kohen, and the rest can be sold at Truma rates. Okay. Ve'im le'maseh sheni or lehekdesh nafla. Now, what happens if the truma had fallen into hekdesh or maseh sheni? So, in both of these cases, you have the same etza. Hare elu yipadu. You redeem them and turn them into chulin, basically. So now you take that's possibly your easiest situation, is that you now redeem them onto the money, and the money becomes either hekdesh or maseh sheni, and it's all good. Except for, of course, the produce, which is now chulin mixed with truma, and revert to your halacha that we said about what to do with the mixture of chulin and truma. V'im tamein hayu osan hachulin. Now, what happens if your chulin was tamei? Okay, now chulin's allowed to be tamei. You're allowed to eat tamei chulin, and now a bunch of truma fell into it. Okay, and it was not batel.
Okay.
So again, Zarim are not allowed to eat this because it's meduma. So now
Right.
it now again has to be sold back to the Kohen at the price of truma, but of tamet of truma meduma. But it's going to be complicated. It's going to be worth less than regular truma because it's not because you've got a mixture of tamei chulin inside there.
Okay.
Now, what happened to the truma? Didn't the truma become tame when it fell into the pile? And the answer is no, it didn't, because it's all dry,
Wow.
right? If it's all dry, there's no transmission of truma between the chulin and the truma, but it's all mixed in together. So now, how do you cook it? Because the moment you add water to this mixture, you're going to allow the truma to become tame, and then you've ruined everything. So what's your eitzah? Ye'achlu nikudim o klayos. So what you do is you break them up into little portions that are less than a kabait. Wait, nikudim or kalayos. You eat them dry roasted.
All
Um,
right.
okay. Let's see what's the difference between which one is which. Nikudim is שהוא פחוס מקבייצה. Okay, לכן כשהוא עושה מעשה מדומה כיכר קטנה. So what's nikudim is biyovish. So basically eat them dry, or klayos, or roasted. Yeah. So either eat them raw or dry roasted.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Or yiskhalku leisos. Break them up into portions of less than a kabeta, right? Because less than a kabeta cannot transmit tuma. Okay. Kadei shelo yehei b'makom echad kabeta. So you shouldn't have in one place a kabetza. That way, the kohen is allowed to eat it. It's a mixture of truma and chulin, and even if the chulin is tameh, it does not transmit truma to the chulin to the truma because there's an insufficient quality. Okay.
It says here that when we eat with fruit juice, if it was water, it would be a problem. But it says here that you
Sorry, I skipped that one. I skipped the part about the fruit juice. Thank you very much for
oh,
pointing that out. That fruit juice will not transmit truma, so you can make
they,
mazonos bread.
yeah, they
Right.
can make an example pomegranate or mulberry juice that did not make susceptible to uncleanliness.
Right, so
Okay, good.
that's an important data. Thank you. I skipped that when I was reading. Okay. Mishnah base. Se'at truma tamea. Okay, so now you've got tame truma. Okay. Shinafla lesoch mea chulin tahorim. Now, your truma was tame. It was going to be burned, but it fell into a pile of chulin. But this time, there's enough chulin to be mevatel it.
Okay.
Okay, so now we've got some hope in this situation. What do you do with it? Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Teirom v'sisarif. Take out another sa and burn it. Okay, she'ani Omer sa'a she'nafla hi sa'a she'alta. Now this is an important one to remember that Rabbi Eliezer is going to have a few times when he's going to have the same shita, is that when you're taking out the truma from a mixture like this, your assumption is that it's the same se'ah of truma that fell in is exactly what you're taking out. It's kind
Okay.
of a magic, okay?
Right.
Exactly as if that is the same se'ah that came out, and this is the tame truma, and you burn it. Okay. Chachamim אומרים, nope. Tale v'teachel nikudim uklayos or tilosh b'mei peros. So the same all the eights that we had before, basically, or tis chalek isos, break it up into little things. Kadei shelo yehei b'makom echad kebetza. So they say the same eights as we said in the previous case. Why? Because when you take out whatever handful it is of truma, we don't there's not first of all the truma is batel midoraisa, it's batel, it doesn't exist. We're still machmir on it, and we treat and what and the it's important at this point, I think, to take a little step back and understand the difference she taught of Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim. According to Rabbi Eliezer, as we've just said, when you're taking out that se'ah of truma that fell into the mixture, it's the same se'ah. And you got to do with it whatever you were going to do with the original se'ah of truma. Chachamim are saying, no, what you're doing is compensating the kohen. It's not the same one. You're just compensating him for the loss of the truma. So you're taking something else out and calling that truma, and whatever truma that was is mixed in and is batel. And all that we're doing when we're taking out that extra se'ah is compensating the kohen. So now you're compensating the kohen, but you don't want but you cannot have him eating something that could be tame truma. So therefore you have to have this eitzah of doing exactly what we said last time, dry roasting it or mixing it with fruit juice or making it into tiny little cakes that are less than a kibetza, in order to make sure that he doesn't ultimately end up eating tame truma.
Right.
Okay, and that's the and that is the halacha. But you'll see again that this machlokes is going to play out in a few other mishnayos.
Okay.
Right, let's go back.
Okay.
Based Alad.
Okay. Solid we have here. One may not separate truma from one kind for another, and if he did separate his truma, is not truma. All kinds of wheat count as one, and all kinds of figs and dried figs and fig cakes count as one, and one may separate truma from one for the other. Where there is a priest, one must separate from the superior quality, but where there is no priest, he must separate from that which keeps. Rabbi Yehuda says one must always separate from the superior quality. One should separate as truma a whole small onion and not half or a large onion. Rabbi Yehuda says not so. Rather half of a large onion, and Rabbi Yehuda used to say one may separate as truma from town onions for the villages, but not from villages for the towns, since they are food for the upper classes. One may separate truma from oil olives or from pickled olives, but not from pickled olives for oil olives, and from unboiled wine for boiled wine, but not from boiled wine for unboiled wine. This is the general principle. If the two kinds constitute kalayim, one may not separate truma from one for the other, not even for the superior for the inferior, but that they do not constitute kalayim, one may separate truma from the superior for the inferior, but not from the inferior to the superior. If he did not if he did separate from the inferior for the superior, his truma is truma, except that darnel for wheat which is not food, and cucumber melon are one kind, and Rabbi Yehuda says two kinds. Mark over here,
Okay.
and to you want to stop Brockers? No, it's
Shvius.
Shavias first.
Shvius.
Okay. Okay. Hey. One may oil unripe figs and pierce them until Rosh Hashanah. Unripe figs of the sixth year, which have gone into the seventh year, and of the seventh year, which have gone into the eighth year, may neither be oiled nor pierced. Rabbi Yehuda says whether when the custom is to oil them, one may not oil them because it ranks as work. Where it is not customary to oil them, one may oil them. Rabbi Shimon permits concerning a tree because one may trim a tree, tend to a tree. One may not plant, sink, or graft in the sixth year less than 30 days before Rosh Hashanah. If he did plant, sink, or graft, he must uproot it. Rabbi Yehuda says any grafting that has not taken root within 3 days will never strike root. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon say within 2 weeks. Rice, millet, poppy, and sesame, which took root before Rosh Hashanah, are tithed according to the previous year and are permitted in the seventh year. If not, they are forbidden in the seventh year and are tithed according to the following year. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, let's finish Oktzin.
Okay. Yud Aleph. But when do home honeycombs contract tumor as a liquid? Beis Shammai says from when he heats the honeycomb, and Beis Hillel says from when he crushes the honeycomb. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says the time will come when the Holy One, blessed is He, will endow each and every righteous person with 310 worlds, as it is stated, to endow with substance those that love me, and I shall fill their treasuries. Rabbi Shimon ben Kalafta said, the Holy One, blessed is He, found no vessel to hold blessing for Israel other than peace, as it is stated, Hashem gives strength to His nation, Hashem blesses His nation with peace. Hadran
Hadran Alach, Maseches Uktzim, Hadran Alach, just Sidrei Mishnah. There we go, another siyum for us. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Brachos. Aleph. From when does one recite Shema in the evening? From the time when the Kohanim enter to eat of their truma until the end of the first watch. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer, but the Chachamim say until midnight. Ram Gamil says until the pillar of dawn comes up. It happened that his sons came from a feasting house, and they said to him, we did not read Shema. He said to them, if the pillar of dawn has not come up, you are still obligated to read, obliged to read. And not this alone, but wherever the stage is stimulated until midnight. The mitzvah is still obtained until the pillar of dawn. The burning of the fats and limbs may be performed until the pillar of dawn comes up. And all the offerings that are to be eaten in one day, the period of performing the mitzvah lasts until dawn. If so, why did the sages stimulate till midnight? To keep one far away from transgression.
Okay.
Okay. This one, that's right. One. Okay.
Just the one. Okay.
Over here.
Ohalos.
Yeah. One. Ohalos. Okay. Vav Hey. There is tumah between the joists, and underneath it is a very thin covering. If there is a handbreadth of empty space, everything becomes tummy, and if there is no handbreadth at the empty space, the tumah is considered occluded. If the tumah is noticeable within the lower story becomes tummy, whether or not there is a cubed handbreadth of empty space. A wall that resulted from excavation is ruled as the garlic peel. How so? There is a wall between two recesses or between two underground chambers. If tumah is in the open areas of the catacomb and there are utensils in the wall that are covered very thinly, the utensils remain tahor. If tumah is in the wall covered very thinly and in the open areas there are utensils, the utensils remain tahor. The tumah is underneath a pillar. Tumah penetrates upward and downward. Utensils that are beneath the capital remain tahor. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri declares them tamei. In a case where the tumah and the utensils are beneath the capital, if there is a space of a handbreadth, the utensils are tamei. If not, they remain tahor. Two wall closets are one beside the other or one above the other. One of the closets is open, it becomes tamei, and so does the house, while the other closet remains tahor. However, if the door is closed, the wall closets are treated as one if there is no empty space inside them at all, and if they are ruled half and half to make the house tamei. Okay.
Hey.
Right. Yeah.
Adios.
Okay. Dollar base. But in the case of an animal that was born on Yom Tov, all agree that is permitted. And in the case of a chick that hatched from an egg on Yom Tov, all agree it is prohibited. If one slaughters a wild animal or a fowl on Yom Tov, Beit Shammai says he may dig up some earth with a spade and cover the blood. But Beis Hillel says he may not slaughter unless he has earth prepared before Yom Tov. But Beis Hillel agrees that if he had already slaughtered, he should dig up the earth with a spade and cover the blood with it, for the ashes of the stove are prepared. Beis Shammai says produce declared ownerless for the poor become ownerless. But Beis Hillel says it is not ownerless unless it is declared ownerless with respect to the rich as well as with Shemitah. If all the sheaves of the field are each the size of one cob and one is the size of four cobs, and he forgot the large sheaf, Beit Shammai says that it is not treated as shechicha, but Beis Hillel says it is shechicha. If a sheaf is close to a wall, to a stack of grain, or to cattle, or to implements, and he forgot it, Beit Shammai says it is not treated as shechicha, but Beis Hillel says it is treated as shechicha. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And we are up to Mola Cotton.
Yep.
Aleph Aleph. We may water an integrate. We may water an irrigated field during Kol Hamoed or during Shemitah, either from a spring that has just begun to flow or from a spring that has not just begun to flow. However, we may not water irrigated fields neither with rainwater nor with water from a cistern, nor may we dig ditches around grapevines. If Elazar and Aryeh say we may not dig a new irrigation canal during Kol Hamoed or Shemitah. The comment said we may dig a new irrigation canal during Shemitah and repair damaged ones during Kol Hamoed. We may repair damaged cisterns in the public domain and clear them out. We may repair roads and streets and ritual baths provided or for all public needs, make graves, mark graves, and even go out to inspect the fields. Forbidden mixtures of seeds during Kol Hamoed. If Eliezer ben Yaakov says we may divert water from one tree to another, provided that by doing so one does not water the entire field. Seeds that were not watered before the festival will not be watered during Kol Hamoed, and will come, however, permit watering in both these cases. Okay.
Okay. Kayach.
Up to you. Thank you very much.
Every
Have a
day.
great, relaxing day. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.